Hello and welcome. I thank Michael Veitch for his book Heroes of the Sky for the following story. Friedrich Wilhelm Fred David, an Austrian Jew, was born in Vienna in 1898 and obtained an engineering degree at Vienna University. He found work as a designer for Ernst Heinkel. With rising anti-Semitism in Germany, Heinkel became concerned for David's safety, particularly after Hitler came to power in 1933. Heinkel sent David to Japan where their company had contracts. There David designed for the Aichi company. David's design contributions in Japan resulted in the Mitsubishi A5M Claude fighter and the Aichi D3A Type 99 Val dive bomber. In 1939, David fled Japan for Australia, arriving as a refugee. As an enemy alien, he had to report to police each week. Before the Second World War, the Australian aircraft industry had barely managed to produce anything more complicated than a toaster. Yet, by 1939, the trainer and general purpose Wirraway was in production at Melbourne's Fisherman's Bend factory, followed 2 years later by the licence-built Beaufort medium bomber. Australia lacked a modern fighter that rendered us woefully unprepared for what was to come. Germany and Japan became allies in September 1940. In December 1941, Imperial Japan bombed Pearl Harbor and war between it and the Allies was declared. Australia found itself with a huge problem. The Wirraway was briefly and foolishly thrown up against the Japanese Zeros with awful losses. Wilbur Wackett was a fighter pilot flying Wirraways north of Australia and sent letters to his dad pleading for better aircraft. His dad happened to be Lawrence Wackett, who was head of the Commonwealth Aircraft Corporation. Lawrence Wackett was told that this Austrian Jewish aircraft designer named Fred David had recently arrived in Australia. David had barely time to unpack before Wackett grabbed him and told him to design a fighter that could be manufactured in Australia and work fast. David was now chief designer of Australia's only purpose-built defensive fighter aircraft, yet was required to report to police on a weekly basis. A few days before Christmas 1941, a fortnight after Pearl Harbor, the Boomerang's initial design was drawn. The first model test flight was in May 1942, an astonishingly short development period. The RAAF put in an order for 100. The Boomerang was not much to look at. It had a short fuselage, stumpy wings, and an enormous twin Wasp radial engine. The 4 Browning machine guns and 2 wing-mounted 20mm cannon gave it a punch. The cannon were reverse engineered from a captured example brought back to Australia from the Western Desert as a souvenir. In the end, the Boomerang was not needed as a fighter as superior American types such as the Kitty Hawk began to arrive in numbers in 1942. This was probably just as well as the Boomerang's bad handling above 15,000 feet meant it was no match for the Zero. The Boomerang did find great use close to the ground, supporting the Army as an effective ground attack fighter. Its robustness and versatility were greatly appreciated. Fred David worked on several projects throughout the war, but his most technically advanced aircraft never got past the prototype stage. This was the CA-15 Kangaroo piston fighter. The project was commissioned in early 1943 to overcome the speed and aeronautical limitations of the Boomerang, but the prototype did not fly until March 1956. However, despite the aircraft exceeding the maximum speed and climb rate of the Spitfire and Mustang, it was now obsolete with the dawn of the jet age. In the 1960s, Fred worked for the Australian Aeronautical Research Laboratories. This is now the Defence Science and Technology Organisation. After the CSIRO, this is the second largest government-funded science organisation. Fred died in Melbourne in 1992, and I'm guessing he was no longer reporting weekly to police. Thank you for watching. Please like and subscribe, comment if you will. Thank you very much.